welcome back. The Ray program bringing you the best in money information. Steve Aledort, the loan financial planner in the house. Steve, we've been talking about self-employeds, and I just know from being self-employed pretty much all of my adult life that every time I've had to go for a mortgage, it has been a pain in the wazoo, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
Is it still a pain in the wazoo?
Well, it all depends. There's a lot more that we have to take into consideration when we're looking to qualify somebody who is self-employed. And let's qualify those that are self-employed. You file a Schedule C.
Yes.
Independent contractor, shows up on your personal federal tax returns. But you're also considered self-employed if you own a corporation, if you file 1120S returns, an S Corp.
Subchapter S.
Or an 1120, which is a C Corp, you're still considered in the mortgage business a self-employed individual. So as far as being able to qualify you for income, it depends on the type of lending source we're going to, whether we're doing conventional, government, jumbo, whether I'm able to use 1 year, 2 years returns, how I need to calculate those returns, looking at the bottom of your adjusted gross income.
My head's going to explode here.
Exactly. There's so many variables, and depending upon how your returns look and how they potentially compare from 1 year to the next will predicate what I can use to qualify you and what you can qualify for either a refinance or a purchase.
Okay, so let me do a what if. I'm a Subchapter S corporation. I made, after expenses, $200,000. I paid myself a salary of $100,000, and I left $100,000 in my corporation as profit. Did I make $200,000 or did I make $100,000?
Nope, you potentially made $200,000. So we're able to, on a corporation, you have the option on whether you want to pay yourself a salary. So in your scenario, you did. You paid yourself a salary of $100,000. So I can count that as W-2 income. Now that's got to be somewhat consistent. If I'm using 1 year returns, I can use the $100,000. If I'm required to use 2 years, I've got to look back at your previous year W-2 income and average them together.
But I have a $100,000 dividend that I've left in the corporation that I'm going to pay tax on. But it's still in the corporation.
In most scenarios, I can count that $100,000, depending upon how it shows up on your K-1 as potential distributions. But the other considerations that we have on self-employed or corporation is if you have any depreciation, I have the potential ability of adding that depreciation back into your income.
Okay, so let me just explain to everybody. If you own rental property, as an example, you depreciate that property if it's residential over 27 and a half years, and you get an income tax write-off for that depreciation. What Steve is saying is you can add that number back into your income because you got a phantom income tax deduction that translates into more money in your pocket, right?
And as you were talking at the top of the hour, if you have equipment, computers, or whatever that you're depreciating, that's where it will show on the front page of your corporate returns and even on your Schedule C return on the personal returns. Now, you were also talking about business meals, where you're able to only deduct 50%. So if I get a Schedule C or a corporate return that shows business meals and entertainment, I'm going to know, let's say it shows $5,000. We all know that you're actually spent $10,000 because you're only getting 50% of the credit. We are now required to use that full $10,000.
As a what?
As a debt. So let's say your bottom line after paying your salary is $100,000, and you've got $5,000 deducted for business meals and entertainment. Because that number was actually $10,000, because you're only able to use a half of it, I have to take that $100,000 and subtract another $5 because I've got to use the full amount.
Well, that is ridiculous.
That is the current guidelines that we have to do. And as of a year or two ago, lenders sometimes deducted it, sometimes did now. I've got to make sure that when I'm going through a borrower's tax returns, Schedule C corporate returns, that I make sure that I see where those meals and entertainment are and add that amount and deduct it from their net income.
Because back when I was in business, as you well know, because you and I have shared lunches and dinners together with clients and by ourselves and always talking business, you end up spending a lot of money on that stuff. What you're saying is I would have to reduce my net business income by that other 50%.
For qualifying on a mortgage loan.
Okay.
Now, here's the other thing, too.
And it's more, folks. There's more.
Yes. If we're required to use 2 years on your returns, and at the top of the next hour, we'll go over why that's going to become important right now, is if your current returns are showing a reduction in net income. So it doesn't matter if your gross income's gone up or down. We're looking at what I can count for qualifying, what you may pay yourself as a salary and your bottom line net operating income. If it is more than a 20% reduction of the previous year, we're going to need a pretty darn strong explanation as to why, because I may not be able to count your income at all.
Whoa. What do you mean you can't count my income at all?
If there is a reduction of income.
So I made $100,000 one year, I made $80,000 or $75,000 the next?
There's got to be a good reason as to why there's a decline of 25%, because the lender's going to look really closely as to why is your income going down and will it continue to go down.
Okay, well, you know I have a solution to all of this.
I'm going to be interested in hearing your solution.
I am the solutions guy.
And I will tell you if I can make that deal work for you.
Okay.
All right?
Well, we've made a lot of deals work over the years. Steve Aledort, the Loan Financial Planner. You can get a hold of him at loanfinancialplanner.com, loanfinancialplanner.com, or call him at 888-563-1070, 888-563-1070. Now, self-employed individuals, they drive the economy, and they got to pay massive amounts of self-employment tax and all of that business, and now it's even more difficult for them to get financing. So when we come back from the break, I know you've got more up your sleeve, but I got something too.
Okay.
And you and I have done this before. We've talked about it before, but it's been haunting me since we talked. This was last week or the week before, because somebody emailed me and said, well, that idea of doing a 72T and robbing from your IRA to help support a mortgage is basically going to bankrupt you when you retire. And that statement kind of haunted me. Was I really robbing someone's 401k or IRA? So I did some simple calculations. So when we come back from the break, let's talk about how this poor self-employed individual who can't qualify for the loan that they want, who's got little kidlets running around and wants to make sure that he can keep his kids in his own backyard instead of sending them down, downtown to shoot hoops who knows where with a whole bunch of people who knows who. That's what I like about buying your own Ponderosa.
Yeah, and the other thing that I want to talk about at the very beginning is there's a big change on the conforming side for self-employed borrowers if you've been in business less than 5 years. So
okay, we'll cover that and 72T and how we can help you get qualified even if you do own a business. Stick around. It's the Ray Lucia Show, 844-RAY-SHOW emails, raylucia.com. Click on the Ask Ray button. Back with more of Steve Aledort.